Alright, so I'm not sure if this matters or not, but before I took the pinion carrier off the back, I marked the housing and the gear, top and bottom. Right there, you can see that. Those two marks there as well. And then on the pinion itself, I marked the housing and the yoke. And what you'll find is as you turn it, they don't come back to the same spot for quite a long time. So I don't know what the ratio is. I don't know if the same teeth always made up all the way through, or if every tooth sees every other tooth at some point. I don't know, but I figured better safe than sorry. When I put it all back together, I will put them right back to where I started before I bolt up that pinion carrier. So not sure about this gasket, might reuse it. Probably not a good idea though. Probably comes in some sort of seal kit, so probably replace it. But basically there's a slot there on both sides. Put a screwdriver in there and lightly pry. One right there. And just gotta break that O-ring and it'll come right out. Getting closer. Not sure on these teeth. I know these gears are super expensive for a set, and they're a match set. Focus up, there it is. So I don't know much about gears and what's good and bad. I'm gonna go research that, see if that's normal looking wear. But that's where we're at. So gotta make up my fixture to hold that vertical shaft, and then we can take this nut off and finally have access to the point of this whole project, that little girl. I made an incorrect statement earlier where I was talking about this gasket, saying, I don't know if I'm going to replace it or not. This is not actually a gasket, it's a shim, plastic shim material. Per the Celloc service manual, you need to save this and don't damage it, because if you can imagine, this affects the distance that this gear pinion protrudes into these guys. So pretty important that you don't toss that and don't damage it, because I don't even know what you'd do if you had to replace it. It's probably a certain thickness, and I don't know if you can find another one or not, but why bother when you can just reuse it? So just wanted to clear that up. It's not a gasket. Your sealing is done by this O-ring right here, which I will replace, but this I'm going to reuse. Alright, so the time has come to loosen this nut. And like I said before, the problem is you need that $100 special fixture to go in there and hold that shaft. So what I'm going to try to do, so I went and I bought another one of these used on eBay for 25 bucks. And what I did was I welded it to this rusty old socket. Don't judge my welding. Nobody ever accused me of being a welder. But I would think that would hold. Find out. So I'm going to throw that on a ratchet on that end, and put a breaker bar on this end with a 30mm socket, and see if we can get that off. See what happens. Okay, well, got it out, but not without heartache. So silly me thought I was going to use a ratchet on both, or a ratchet and a breaker bar on both sides of this, and just crank that nut off. Well, it's actually torqued to 110 foot-pounds, and just to note, it's a left-hand thread, so you actually go clockwise to take it off. But Yeah, that didn't work so well. The whole housing just wanted to twist on you, and basically there's a reason that Volvo makes a special holding fixture. So after a bunch of swearing and messing around, I did this redneck hillbilly awful welding job. But basically I just needed something to set in my vise here that would hold that bottom shaft rock solid, so that I could actually get some muscle on that top nut. Just couldn't, it's too awkward to do it any other way. So pretty sure the holding fixture looks something like this anyways, but it's pretty hideous, but it was strong enough to hold it. So she's off, whatever. Yeah, so here she is. This is the reverse side on top. Looks pretty good. Still has a matte finish to it. Get into this side and I don't know. I see some shininess. I see a ding right there. I'm not exactly sure how that happened. But you can see some shiny glaze. If it'll focus here, right there. Yeah, there's a definite difference between the two. But my guess is, yeah, right there in the middle looks a lot more shiny. And then I guess there could be some dishing in here as well, with that would affect the shift shoe and how much it engages. You can see that shift shoe rides right in there and pushes it up or down, but it's always rubbing against that beveled surface. And you can kind of visualize how if you push this in that way more, you can get a little more distance one way or the other. And I'm guessing that maybe I need to shim that a little bit. We'll find out. There's a process for that, to get that out to where it needs to be with little shims behind it. So I don't have the tool yet, but you can see this castellated ring in here. You need a special wrench. That hurt. That was 160 bucks. There's really no way around that part of it. You've got to have that wrench, and that's coming in tomorrow. But once I get that ring out, which that's going to be a task in itself, I'm not exactly sure how to hold this housing while I crank on that. That's torqued to 145 foot-pounds, so that's even more. My guess is I'll probably have to hillbilly something up where I just maybe lag bolt this to a post or something to really hold it solid so that I can reef on that. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Stuck. I'd like to get a look at that cone surface and see if it's glazed. It's hard to tell. But we'll get in there tomorrow. Oh, one other thing. Very careful. There's a shim right here. Also important. Make sure you don't lose that and keep that oriented. And then also on the top side here, this bearing can fall right out. And they say you need to mark it to make sure you put it back in the same orientation. So this is the top. If you were to flip this around and put it back in, you'd never know, but that might be bad actually, because the bearings have been wearing in this orientation for 180 hours or however long this has been used. So yeah, I almost feel like someone's been in here. I see some nicks and dings on the side that make me wonder. Also, I noticed this part number is the old part number. The service bulletin says to replace this part with the part that I've ordered. Oh yeah, look at all the dings there too. Something makes me think someone's been in here. But so this part number is replaced by a new one, and then they also say to take out this spring and the associated clips below it. I'm thinking they don't need that spring there, and it's actually probably aiding in holding this forward side up off of that cone, and that can only hurt you under low load. I would think that it would be more prone to slipping when it has that spring that always wants to push it out of engagement. So for whatever reason, they released a service bulletin that said get rid of that spring and replace this clutch. So that's what I'm going to do.